Well, thank you for hosting today's forum. We are very pleased that you've asked us to participate and to finally give some input on the Commissioner's implementation, a very rapid implementation of a poorly planned curriculum, assessment, and teacher evaluation process. So my name is Roberta Gerold, and I am the very, very proud superintendent of the Middle Country Schools. Middle Country is a district that is challenged financially to provide its students with a solid education. But with our community, we've been able to meet that challenge, and we've been able to provide our students with the resources they need to be successful once they leave us. But we are now challenged with mandates and requirements that don't make sense to us and that don't seem to have real value, at least at this moment, for our kids. Our community is losing confidence in the state education department, and that's evidenced by the very recent unprecedented opposition to high-stakes assessment on the elementary level. And I hope that that lack of support, that lack of confidence doesn't spill over to our schools, because on the local level, we don't deserve that. We work very, very hard to provide our students with what they need. And for the most part, my remarks will be centered around Middle Country, but I'm also the very proud president of the Suffolk County School Superintendents Association, and that association is made up of very capable educators who have spent their lives trying to buffer our districts from political initiatives and actions that do nothing to forward public education. And for the most part, we do a good job, but we are now stymied by a commissioner that's forgotten what it's like to teach. So my comments are going to be are created within a wider context than my district's parameters. My comments are created within an educator's framework, a framework that I am humbled and proud to hold. There's no argument in Middle Country, and there's no argument in any Suffolk County school district that standards ought to be high. There is no argument that we need to educate our students so that they are career and college ready. In fact, that's our work, and that's what we do very, very well here on Long Island. In Middle Country, for example, without the Commissioner's direction, we required our students to study mathematics in each of their 4 years of high school, because we know if they leave high school with the habits of mathematical reasoning intact, they don't have to take remedial courses once they go to college. We knew that, and we decided that on our own. But how is our implementation of an initiative to raise standards and to improve student learning different from the Commissioner's initiatives? Well, the political motivation behind Race to the Top is very well known. And that was the rush to be amongst the first state to adopt a teacher evaluation system tied closely to high-stakes assessment. Well, that's clear. Middle Country's initiatives were untainted by politics. They were driven by a desire to help kids learn. But let's move beyond that. Middle Country researched the curriculum we were considering for implementation. We talked about it, we discussed its value, we looked at national research, we listened, we heard, we slowed down when necessary. We developed resources. We trained teachers. We prepared students. We budgeted in advance. We made decisions about priorities. And we were intelligent and thoughtful in our implementation. And our students benefited. Now let's talk about the Commissioner. The Commissioner imposed. There was no listening, and there was no respectful collaboration. We as superintendents asked the Commissioner to slow down implementation, to move in each piece of his multi-phase initiative carefully. So we wanted to be prepared. We wanted to have the resources. We wanted our kids to be ready to learn. We wanted our teachers to be ready to teach. And by the way, had they slowed down, I think State Ed would have done a little better too, because they could not meet a number of their timelines. And every time they missed a timeline, we lost more confidence in their ability to lead us. So, but what did Middle Country do to implement the Commissioner's initiative? To implement the new assessments, the new curriculum, the new evaluation system? Well, the high-stakes testing piece, when we were forced to put it into place last year, cost us at the very start $300,000. In 2 months, it cost us $300,000. We needed that money to bring computers into our primary and elementary schools. We needed that money to pay for some of the assessments. It was money that we hadn't planned. Middle Country doesn't have the financial flexibility to fund one item without removing another item. So what did we do? We lost staff. We no longer, for example, have elementary librarians. We have 10 elementary schools, and we actually have one librarian moving around the 10 schools. Yep. We lost valuable instructional time, and that's time that's an item that's much more expensive than anything. We lost that because not only did we have to administer the assessments, we had to remove teachers from the classroom so they could grade the assessments. And we lost our parents' confidence in the value of assessments to inform instruction. And we now have to take the time to teach them again to be confident in our schools. Middle Country, like districts across New York, knows its students, knows its community, and knows how to implement initiatives. We have the practical experience and we have the wisdom to do it right. And so my primary recommendation for you and for the commissioner is to stop and listen, to really collaborate with us, to slow down and let us get the work done, and to be respectful. One of the commissioner's deputies mentioned at a recent forum that high-stakes testing has to be in place because without the testing, instruction would not occur. That comment speaks to SED's lack of trust and a lack of respect for our public educators. It's disgraceful. The commissioner should reflect on what his actions have brought about, and he should work with us. We will forgive him. He can work with us in a collaborative partnership to authentically and respectfully phase in a process that benefits all of our learners. So I thank you again for this opportunity. It is a pleasure to be listened to.
Thank you. It's certainly a pleasure for us to have you testifying today. And I think the point you closed on, ties back also to what my colleague Dave McDonough said earlier. Major changes need to be done with that type of collaboration in any field, whether it's healthcare, you want to consult with doctors, nurses. In education, you want to consult with administrators, teachers, and certainly us in the legislature feel that we had something to say on this issue before it was implemented, but like Dave said, we really weren't asked to be a part of it because, so many of our constituents rely on us to be their voice in that, and we're hearing from our teachers on a day-to-day basis what's going on and how this is going to affect them. So you made a perfect point there on how we need to look at things like this, but looking forward that this is very much why we're here today, so that when we come together after we've done this series of hearings, that we can have heard from so many stakeholders like yourself who we know are doing an excellent job educating our students here on Long Island. So thank you for being here today. Assemblyman Graff?
Yeah. Do you have any idea how much implementation of this is going to cost your school district overall?
I'm really afraid to think about it because I know we have probably spent close to $1 million over the past 2 years. Because it's not just the technology, it's substitutes, it's training, it's textbooks, and it's time. And how do you value time?
Right.
We lose instructional time. We don't have that much time with our kids. It seems like we do, but we really don't. And we need to spend that time teaching them to trust us so that they can learn, and that's removed from us. So it's money, it's resources, and it's fear, too, of what the costs are going to be going forward. We were told, for example, that and we have it in writing, and the memo was then withdrawn by the State Education Department, that we needed to budget 5% of our annual budget to buy technology to be able to implement the PARC program, that's the assessments that are going to be in place within the next couple of years. Now, this is in a time when we have a tax levy cap, when we have costs going up, just the cost of living is going up. So how do we budget for that?
Right. And now we gave you the state gave you additional costs, lots of additional costs.
Additional costs.
How much additional funding did they give you to implement this?
Well, I can tell you, because we just looked at this, in Middle Country, because of the gap elimination adjustment formula, we've lost about $36 million in state aid over the past 3 years. Because the foundation formula hasn't been able to run, we've lost about $19 million. So we have exactly what you said. We have additional expenditures required and a lack of dollars to support them.
Okay, now you submitted teacher evaluations as the state asked you to do.
Yes, we did.
Do you have an idea how much that cost you?
Well, that's part of the dollars that I gave to you, but equally important was the amount of time to come up with a plan that I can say to you I don't believe in. And thank goodness I have Middle Country has a good teachers association who also realized we had to play the game. We didn't believe in the political motivation behind that plan, but we created a plan that met our needs to comply.
Okay. And the governor promised that he would reimburse you the amount of money for implementing the teacher evaluations. I was there, big fanfare about it's not going to cost the school districts a dime. Did you see any reimbursement?
No, I saw bills though.
Okay. Lastly, it's my understanding that some of these computers for testing are just, that's what they're for, testing. They're not for the students to use. They're set aside for testing. Is that true?
Well, in Middle Country, we have a practice of using everything we have for multiple reasons. So probably it would be best to save the computers just for testing to make sure they work when testing comes about, but we use them for instruction also.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Gerold. This is just an example of what mandates are when you get to the educational level. I just want to share something that a group of retired teachers gave me a pie plate last year when I spoke to them, and maybe some of you have seen it. And it says, those that can teach, those that can't make laws about teaching.
I like that.
Chad?
Just a quick follow-up.
Sorry.
I know you said you were looking at $1 million it's cost you over several years. I just want to know, Middle Country, just so in terms of the demographics, how large is the district and how much is your operating budget per year?
Middle Country, we have about 11,000 students. We have 14 schools. Our budget's about $220 million.
Thank you.